There are 8 species of bear alive in the world today. The American black bear, the Asiatic black bear, the brown bear, the giant panda, the polar bear, the sloth bear, the Andean spectacled bear, and the sun bear. They are found across the globe from North and South America to Europe, Asia, and the Arctic, but none is found in Africa. Polar bears and Kodiak bears, a subspecies of brown bears, are the 2 largest in the world, weighing in at 1,200 pounds and standing up to 10 feet tall on their hind legs. They are an impressive sight. In comparison, the smallest bear is the sun bear, found in Southeast Asia. These bears weigh less than 145 pounds and grow to a maximum length of 4 feet. Except for polar bears and the giant panda, bears are mostly omnivorous, as well as eating vegetation, fruit, and berries. They eat small mammals, birds, and reptiles, and some invertebrates. There is an abundance of both vegetation and prey animals for bears in Africa, not to mention a vast array of habitats that would suit many of the bear species. So why aren't there any bears currently living in Africa? Bears did once exist in Africa, until relatively recently. The Atlas bear was found amongst the Atlas Mountains in North Africa. They looked like a slightly stocky version of the current-day American black bears, and their range was thought to have stretched from Morocco across to Libya. They were hunted extensively for sport by the Roman Empire. The Romans used them in their gladiator arenas, as well as to execute criminals. They were hunted to extinction in the late 1800s. These bears are the only known species that were exclusive to Africa. Fossil records have revealed a further 2 species of bear that once lived in Africa. Agriotherium and Endarctos were huge bear species that became extinct during the Pliocene. It is thought that they may have become extinct in Africa due to the changing climate and greater competition from apex predators. Except for Australia, bears are adapted to most other continents. Australia split from the main continent, Gondwana, 250 million years ago, resulting in the unique and distinctive wildlife found nowhere else on Earth. Africa, however, still remains attached to Asia, but there are no bears currently living there. Polar bears evolved from brown bears 200,000 years ago and spread north. Brown bears and black bears spread widely across Europe and Asia and crossed into North America via the Bering Land Bridge. From there, the bears could radiate southwards, crossing the Panama Land Bridge and evolving into the Andean bear. Whilst the Atlas bear inhabited the mountainous region in North Africa, it never spread further south. The Sahara Desert could have acted as a barrier to the species, preventing it from increasing its range. However, the fossil of the giant Agriotherium bears have been found in sub-Saharan Africa, but it is thought to have died out from the increased competition. Most bear species alive today are highly adaptable. Not only do grizzly bears eat a wide selection of food, but they can easily shift their feeding behavior to suit the changing environment around them. Spectacled bears inhabit a wide range of habitats from the rainforest, cloud forest, and dry forest to grasslands and coastal regions. Asiatic black bears and sun bears coexist in the wild. Their diets overlap, but they do not outcompete each other as their food sources are plentiful. Perhaps it is the lack of adaptations that prehistoric bears had, which made them ill-suited to Africa. Current-day bears originated from Europe. They have adapted to colder climates. Increased seasonality within Europe was selected for a larger size, which aided in predatory behavior and protection from carnivores, and allowed the accumulation of large fat reserves to survive the harsh winters and dips in food sources. It could be that these adaptations that allowed the bears to thrive in Europe, Asia, and North America were not conducive to the hotter African climate. Polar bears overheat very easily. This is why they move with their notorious lumbering walk. They prefer to ambush their prey rather than chase it over long distances. Similarly, black bears and grizzly brown bears are also susceptible to heat stress. Recently, it has been discovered that both black bears and grizzlies, especially pregnant females, cool down by taking cold baths. They find pools of water and take a dip, dumping heat as they do so. They also lose heat through the underside of their paws. They have a lot of blood vessels in their paws and often lie on their backs, waving them in the air to release heat. Scientists believe that the adaptive behavior of these bears will likely stand them in good stead as global warming takes hold, increasing the temperatures bears are used to. Since bears originated in Europe before spreading east and west, their adaptations were well suited to the northern hemisphere. But what about the Andean spectacled bear? This species inhabits South America and the southern hemisphere. They are found in the hot jungles and the mountainous regions of Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. They have adapted incredibly well in order to survive and thrive in this climate and habitat. The Andean bear is far smaller in size compared to some of the other bear species. This means that they produce less heat and are less prone to heat stress. They are also expert climbers and often climb to the very tops of trees to escape the stifling heat near the forest floor. In the wet season, there is a significant amount of rain in these forested regions, and the bears can be seen standing in the rain to cool off. Like their larger cousins, they enjoy dipping into the water in order to help regulate their body temperature. Pools of water are littered throughout the jungle, especially during the wet season. Although temperatures in South America can rival those found in sub-Saharan Africa, it seems the Andean bear adapted well to this climate. The two species of extinct bears found in sub-Saharan Africa, Agriotherium and Arctidus, however, perhaps didn't adapt so well. Fossils of these species showed them to be enormous bears. They were considerably larger than today's bears and perhaps struggled more with the heat. It has also been speculated that these giant bears living in sub-Saharan Africa, as well as Europe, were in actual fact scavengers. Their skull and teeth structure were unlikely to support muscles used to catch and kill their prey. Furthermore, analysis of the fossilized bones revealed they ate a vast array of animal species. This is fitting with a scavenger rather than a hunter. Perhaps their enormous size enabled them to scare away other animals feeding on a carcass. Today's brown bears often watch and wait for wolves to bring down their prey and then run in, scaring them away and feasting on the carcass themselves. Often scavengers, however, don't get the choice of cuts of meat. Therefore, feeding a bear of such enormous size indicated that they needed to get additional nutrients from elsewhere. Their jaws suggest they were able to crunch bone. This would have enabled them to get at the highly nutritious bone marrow of a carcass. Although scavenging and consuming this bone marrow could provide enough nutrition for these immense beasts, the arrival of hyenas meant competition for the same meal was high. Better adapted for the hotter, drier climate than the bears, and with the ability to scavenge and even hunt in packs, hyenas had the upper hand. It seems that fierce competition for food and the hot climate may have led to the demise of Agriotherium and Arctidus in Africa. Furthermore, bears of European origin may not have been able to cross southwards of the Sahara Desert. The only bear to have lived solely in Africa, the Atlas bear, was hunted to extinction. It is increasingly important to conserve the species we have on this planet that we and so many other organisms call home, because once they're gone, they're gone. Alligators are only found in the Americas and China. They do not live in Africa like their crocodilian cousins. Here, we try to understand why there are no alligators in Africa. Alligators are large reptiles that belong to the order Crocodilia. They are carnivores that start life eating small invertebrates such as insects, snails, and worms, as well as small vertebrates such as birds. As they grow, they feed on larger animals including small mammals, other reptiles, bigger fish, and deer. They occupy freshwater habitats such as lakes, ponds, marshes, and swamps. Today, there are two species of alligator. The American alligator lives in the southeastern states and parts of Mexico, with the biggest populations in Florida and Louisiana. Southern Florida is the only place where alligators and crocodiles live side by side. The other species of alligator is the Chinese alligator, which only lives in the Yangtze River and its surrounding tributaries. This is the most endangered crocodilian, and in 2015, it was estimated that there were less than 180 individuals left in the wild. Incredibly, alligators haven't changed much in appearance for millions of years. Whilst most of today's animals have extinct ancestors that looked hugely different, this is not true of alligators. In fact, if we took a walk in North America millions of years ago, we would see the same alligators we are familiar with today. The crocodilians have kept their morphological and ecological similarities for almost 100 million years. Their rate of genetic evolution has been much slower than that of mammals. This is largely because they live longer, and therefore the time between generations and the passing of genetic material is much longer than smaller animals, such as some mammals. When we think of alligators, we also think of crocodiles. They are similar in appearance, although alligators have a more U-shaped broader snout, a shorter head, and gray or darker coloring, and their lower teeth are not visible if their mouth is closed. Furthermore, whilst crocodiles can tolerate salt water due to a specialized gland in their mouths, alligators can only survive in fresh water. Crocodiles live throughout the globe. Today's 18 different species of crocodile are found in North, South, and Central America, Asia, Australia, and Africa. The 2 species of alligator are only native to the USA, Mexico, and China. Alligators do not live in Africa. So, why is this? Especially when their cousins, the crocodiles, are so widely dispersed across the globe. To answer this, we need to look back at the evolutionary history of alligators. We can try to determine where they originated from, and why they never settled in Africa in the same way that crocodiles did. Crocodilians is an order of reptiles that includes both crocodiles and alligators, as well as caimans and gharials. Both crocodilians and birds belong to the clade of archosaurs. This group included flying dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and other non-avian dinosaurs. During the Jurassic period, between 201 and 145 million years ago, dinosaurs dominated the land, whilst crocodilian ancestors dominated the water. These crocodilians consisted of a much more diverse group of animals than those found today. Some adapted to feed on insects, and others solely on fish. Some were adapted to take down large prey, and others were even herbivores, surviving by eating only plant matter. Looking back at the Triassic and Jurassic periods, the earliest crocodilians were the protosuchians. These were relatively small reptiles that were less than a meter or 3 feet in length. Their fossils have been found in Europe, Asia, and South America. None have been found in Africa. Emerging from these and diversifying into many different forms were the Mesosuchians. These included some crocodilians with paddle-like feet for expert swimming, and some were adapted for eating shellfish. Their fossils have been predominantly found in South America and Europe, with one being found in Algeria, Africa. Following these unique animals were the Eusuchians, which appeared in the late Cretaceous period about 80 million years ago. From these Eusuchians, all modern-day crocodilians evolved. The crocodile and alligator lineages were thought to have split from one another and diverged about 80 million years ago. This was during the late Cretaceous period, and whilst the mass extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs killed off 75% of the planet's flora and fauna, remarkably, crocodiles and alligators survived. They were among the very few four-legged animals over 25 kilograms that survived, and they have remained largely unaltered, at least superficially, ever since. We know when the lineages of crocodiles and alligators split, but it's unclear where the huge range of crocodilians was living. It remains unclear why there are no alligators in Africa. The geographical data for these prehistoric beasts is very sparse. Fossils have been found all over the world. During the Jurassic and Triassic eras, when the very earliest crocodilians were emerging, Africa was still connected to South America. These two continents split some 140 million years ago. This likely meant the early crocodilians were present on both continents at the time of the split. By the end of the Mesozoic era, 66 million years ago, the three main branches of crocodilians had diverged. These were the Alligatoridae, which includes alligators and caimans, the Crocodilidae, which includes crocodiles, dwarf crocodiles, and false gharials, and the Gavialidae, which includes the gharial. Fossil evidence of common ancestors of alligators and crocodiles has been found across the globe. They were present in Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas. One of the earliest known ancestors of today's alligators was around 250 million years old. This creature was Brachycampsa montana. It was a carnivorous reptile about 8 to 10 feet long found in the United States and Canada. It had short teeth and an incredibly powerful bite. It is thought to have died out just before the mass extinction event 66 million years ago, but not before giving rise to the lineage that would lead to today's alligators. As already mentioned, the two extant species of alligator are the American alligator and the Chinese alligator. There is much debate in the scientific world regarding the evolutionary history of alligators and their relatives. As more data comes to light, particularly with the advances in molecular and DNA sequencing technologies, we will likely see a more complete conclusion of their evolution. Chinese alligators are thought to have evolved from their American relatives during the later Tertiary period, which was between 66 and 2.6 million years ago, due to their saltwater intolerance. Some scientists believe the alligators must have crossed into China using the land. Despite the unfavorable climatic conditions, they conclude that alligators would have used the Bering Land Bridge to make this journey. Most recent research, however, suggests that ancient forms of alligators could tolerate salt water, meaning they were able to disperse throughout the globe more easily without inhibition by these saltwater barriers. Alligators and caiman then diverged from each other during the late Cretaceous, 100 to 66 million years ago. Caiman spread southwards and dispersed across Central and South America. Although the geographical location of the earliest alligators is not completely determined, and therefore the reason why they do not live in Africa is not totally clear, scientists have now mapped the evolutionary tree of the Crocodilus genus. They have found that the American species of crocodile are the most closely related to Africa's Nile crocodile. Evidence suggests that the American crocodiles split from their African relatives 7 million years ago. This divergence occurred long after the African continent split from the Americas, 130 million years ago. The conclusion the scientists came up with is that the crocodiles swam the Atlantic Ocean and found their new home in North, Central, and South America. Crocodiles can survive up to 6 months without eating. They can tolerate and thrive in salt water, and females can store sperm for several months after mating. These characteristics suggest they could have made the Atlantic crossing and colonized the Americas after the long swim. It is understood that these crocodiles gave rise to the 4 New World species living in the Americas today: Morlett's crocodile, the Cuban crocodile, the Orinoco crocodile, and the American crocodile. Mapping the alligator's evolutionary history is not completely clear. Fossils of its prehistoric ancestors have been found across the globe, but they don't seem to have lived in Africa. Diversification of their ancient relatives happened before the breakup of the supercontinent Gondwana. Those that dispersed and spread into North America diversified and evolved into the alligators and caimans that live there today. Alligators could likely survive in Africa as their cousins. The crocodiles thrive there. There are plenty of habitats that they could call home, and a diverse range of climates across the continent, some of which would be suitable for them. The largest species of cat in the world, tigers, are powerful hunters with sharp teeth, strong jaws, and agile bodies. Researchers still have much to learn about these beautiful, critically endangered, solitary cats. Tigers have reddish-orange coats with prominent black stripes, white bellies, and white spots on their ears. Like a human fingerprint, no two tigers have the same markings. Because of this, researchers can use stripe patterns to identify different individuals when studying tigers in the wild. Tigers are the largest cat species in the world, and the Siberian tiger is the largest subspecies, with males weighing up to 660 pounds, or 300 kilograms, and measuring 10 feet, or 3 meters. Sumatran tigers are the smallest subspecies, maxing out at 310 pounds, or 140 kilograms, and 8 feet, or 2.4 meters. Female tigers of all subspecies tend to be smaller than their male counterparts. Tigers are animals that live in South and Southeast Asia, as well as the eastern part of Russia and China. Some live in temperate climates, while others live in tropical environments. Siberian tigers live in cold climates where it snows. Their heavy fur coat and extra layer of fur on their paws protect them from cold temperatures. Also, they have an extra layer of fur around their neck that's sometimes called a scarf. This insulates them from the cold even more. Tigers live in different habitats, including swamps, grasslands, deciduous, and mangrove forests. The type of habitat each of the subspecies lives in depends on its species. Malayans live in tropical broadleaf forests, while Indo-Chinese tigers live in hilly, mountainous areas. Bengals live in rainforests, while the Sumatran live in lowland forests and around swamps. Like other big cats, tigers are skilled hunters who make use of different techniques to kill other animals, mainly ungulate herbivores, which are their primary food. When detecting prey, they move very stealthily as close as possible, but at a distance to avoid being discovered. Then they slowly creep towards the prey and jump, taking it by surprise, so it has a small chance to escape. When tigers catch prey, they bite their neck between the vertebrae to break the spine and kill the animal. Although tigers are extremely efficient hunters, they don't always make the kill as you would expect them to. When they can sneak up on the prey, they only have a few seconds to pounce and kill them by biting them in the neck area. Tigers can run very fast, reaching speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. However, they can only maintain this speed over short distances. They hunt mainly at nighttime. Their excellent night vision and highly developed senses of hearing and smell allow this. Their night vision is 6 times better than that of humans. Tigers live alone for reasons that are based on real behavioral research and also specific, changing circumstances. In short, tigers are extremely territorial, meaning that they mark their own space and want to occupy it all by themselves. They seem to gravitate towards feelings of independence because it's easier to hunt that way. Tigers break from their solitude on rare occasions, usually when mating or raising young. Cubs stay with their mothers until they learn to hunt successfully, usually at about 18 to 24 months old. They reach full independence after 2 to 3 years, at which point they disperse to find their territory. Because of their size and strength, adult tigers don't have many predators. Humans are predators of this animal. Elephants and bears can also pose a threat to them. Tiger cubs have a lot more predators than adults. Hyenas, crocodiles, and snakes are just a few of the predators of cubs. Habitat loss through deforestation is a threat. Poaching is another major threat. They are hunted for their skin, fur, teeth, and other body parts. Also, many are captured and sold to individuals as exotic animals. This is illegal. These creatures do not receive the proper care when sold as exotic pets. In many cases, they are starved by their owners and not given the proper medical care, shelter, or exercise. Not surprisingly, tigers kept as exotic pets have been known to attack and injure or kill the people who purchased them. So, why aren't there wild tigers in Africa? The African continent is known for its great diversity of wild flora and fauna. The diverse ecosystems of the continent are home to wildlife species found nowhere else in the world, including some of the world's deadliest animals. Lions, leopards, and tigers are all part of the Felidae family of cats, which originated in Africa and share a common ancestor. At some point, probably around 2 million years ago, one offshoot of Felidae migrated east towards Asia, and those cats evolved into the orange, black, and white striped beasts we know today. Once established in Asia, however, tigers never returned to Africa, although scientists aren't exactly sure why. Many wildlife researchers believe that, historically, tigers inhabited much of Asia, and that various tiger subspecies naturally migrated and spread out over time. Pleistocene glacial fluctuations and geographic boundaries, however, probably made it too difficult for tigers to return to Africa. According to University of Minnesota conservation biology researcher Shujin Luo, tigers did not disperse westward to India until 16,000 years ago. Another possibility could be they found the Asian climate more suitable for them to live and grow, as African continents consist more of savannas. It's not as suitable for tigers as it is for lions, as their skin is orange or dark yellow, having unique black stripes. It's hard for them to hide in the plants of savanna. Hence, hunting became difficult for them, which can make the condition worse for the tiger to survive in Tanzania. But in the Asian continent, the dense jungles made it easy for them to hide and hunt. Even though the tiger's striped camouflage performs best in jungles and forests, the woodlands and savannas of much of Africa would not stop this adept apex predator from hunting successfully, since most prey species do not see a full range of colors, but more silhouettes and movement. The tiger's hunting strategy actually works reasonably well in a surprisingly wide range of habitats. Chasing prey out in open grasslands, though, could pose a problem for this cat that is more bulk muscle than lean speed. With most hunts never reaching cheetah speeds, many African predators never need to run faster than around 30 miles per hour. Leopards, in fact, do quite well in all of Africa, with a similar strategy of stalking and pouncing, using smarts and power instead of sheer speed. Now, although tigers are not indigenous to Africa, they can be found there in zoos, special reserves, and even kept as pets. Two projects, both challenged by ethical and financial issues, have released several tigers into protected reserves in South Africa. The Laohu Valley Reserve Project was created in 2002 by a conservation group called Save China's Tigers. The intent was to nurture and re-wild captive-born South China in South Africa, and eventually release them into protected natural habitats in China. This tiger subspecies is listed as critically endangered and effectively extinct in the wild. Only about 100 individuals are left in the world, all living in zoos or small protected reserves, and all descended from just 6 wild-caught individuals. The SCT project has proven that captive-born tigers can easily learn to survive and hunt wild African prey species, and several purebred South China tiger cubs have been born to this successful group. The Laohu Reserve is now home to almost a full 20% of surviving South China tigers. Creating this ex-situ conservation breeding group of tigers outside China has added to the security of the species in the wild, while at the same time has helped to restore a natural biome to a section of South Africa that had been decimated by intensive sheep farming years earlier. Tiger Canyon, also in South Africa, is another fenced reserve and home to a group of hunting and breeding tigers. However, because these tigers are unendangered hybrids, including inbred white tigers, it has no true species conservation value. Acquired through dubious financial means, the project's ethics are further controversial, since the reserve was created solely to make the film Living with Tigers on the Discovery Channel. Though the founder of the reserve was almost killed by one of these tigers in 2012, the reserve is now run as a privately owned, for-profit safari lodge. Despite the controversial conservation value of Tiger Canyon, it has helped the Laohu Valley Reserve to prove tigers can easily survive in Africa. Why are there no jaguars in Africa? To answer this question, let's first consider the jaguar's habitat, behavior, and diet, and where it is currently found. The jaguar, Panthera onca, is one of the 5 large cats found on our planet today, with a body length of 6 feet and weighing in at just under 350 pounds. This impressive animal is native to the Americas. Its yellow and tan coat is dappled with black spots and rosettes, giving it camouflage within its dense forest habitat. It is a solitary animal that is adapted to hunt in this undergrowth. It stalks its prey before ambushing it and killing it with a bite to the back of the head or neck. Jaguars have the third most powerful bite amongst the big cats, after tigers and lions. They can bite through turtle and tortoise shells and crush skulls. Its diet consists of capybara, giant anteater, and marsh deer. They are also excellent swimmers and regularly catch fish and caiman, often diving underwater to do so. Today, jaguars are native to South and Central America, including Mexico, Paraguay, Argentina, and the Amazon. There are also small numbers in the southwestern United States. None, however, is found in Africa. The big cats that are found on the African continent are lions and leopards. These big cats live alongside smaller felines like cheetahs, servals, caracals, and wildcats. The jaguar evolved in the Old World about 2.5 to 3 million years ago. It migrated into North America via the Bering Land Bridge about 2 million years ago. Then, during the Pleistocene, it disappeared southwards throughout North America and into Central and South America. The North American Pleistocene subspecies Panthera onca augusta gave rise to today's living jaguars. By the mid-Pleistocene, the jaguar's range had declined significantly, and so, too, had its body size. Although today's jaguars are about 15% smaller than their Ice Age predecessors, they are still about twice the weight of leopards, but with shorter and more powerful limbs. They are therefore stocky and incredibly strong for their size. They also have the most robust canines of any feline, relative to their size. We know jaguars obviously survived in the Americas, but where did they originate from? Jaguars are more closely related to lions and snow leopards than the other Panthera species. But while lions spread from Asia into Africa, with some remaining in Asia, and snow leopards stayed in Asia's mountains, jaguars mostly spread eastwards and westwards from Asia. More recent evidence suggests that some must have descended through Africa as well. Until recently, it had been assumed that the pantherines of today, which include lions, tigers, leopards, snow leopards, clouded leopards, and jaguars, evolved from a common ancestor native to Africa. This didn't seem to make sense given the wide geographical locations of these big cats. However, the oldest phalid fossils had always been found in Africa. In 2013, a fossilized big cat skull belonging to a pantherine species, Panthera blythei, was found in Asia. This predates the African fossils, placing the pantherine's common ancestor at 4 to 6 million years ago, much older than previously thought, and in Asia. In addition, molecular research has always pointed towards an Asian origin for the big cats. So too has the geographical location of big cats today. Their distribution across the globe suggests they originated in Asia rather than Africa. This new fossil evidence backs up this assumption and brings together molecular, living, and fossil data into a unified view of pantherine evolution. Early pantherines existed in Central Asia from the late Miocene and into the Pliocene. They originated on the Tibetan Plateau. Panthera blythei was a common ancestor of the Panthera genus, from which the 5 big cats diverged from. The first scientifically recognized jaguar species is known as Panthera gambazogensis, and its fossils date back to the Pleistocene, about 2 million years ago. It was the first pantherine cat to colonize Europe, and it did so because it was incredibly adaptable. It was able to inhabit a vast range of habitats and prey on a variety of animal species. If lions and leopards both had a common ancestor with jaguars, why are they found in Africa and jaguars are not? We know that jaguars did inhabit Africa once because of the fossil evidence found there. Fossils of ancient jaguars found in Tanzania, East Africa, are dated at about 3 million years old. If jaguars did originate in Asia, maybe they migrated from Asia into Africa before the formation of the Sahara Desert. The Sahara is close to 5 million years old. While other jaguars infiltrated Europe and the Americas, maybe those in Africa became trapped south of the Sahara. The Sahara Desert may have become an impenetrable barrier. preventing jaguars from migrating back into Asia and Europe. We know that dispersal across the globe just isn't a one-way route. Cheetahs migrated to North America from Eurasia before returning to Asia, and then subsequently migrating to Africa, where they are found today. The movement of jaguars across the globe could have been a fluid migration, rather than following a single route ending in South America. Could the changing climate of Africa during the late Pliocene have affected jaguars? If so, why did it not affect the other cat species found there? Lions were roaming Africa from the late Pliocene, and leopards from the Pleistocene. During the Pliocene, when jaguars were evident in Africa, the African continent was changing. As the Earth's temperatures cooled down towards the end of the Pliocene, Africa became drier and arider, with grassland habitat dominating. Jaguars may not have adapted well to these changes. Today, jaguars prefer tropical and subtropical climates amongst forests, swamps, and wooded regions. Perhaps Africa's changing habitats forced them into local extinction. This is merely speculation, however. It is difficult to understand just why jaguars did not thrive in Africa, because they are well known for their incredible adaptability and ecological toughness. The survival of the jaguar throughout the Pleistocene, with its highly variable glacial and interglacial periods, is largely attributed to this adaptability. When the Americas saw the mass extinction of its large herbivores, many of the predators, such as the American lion and the saber-toothed cats, died out too. But the jaguar responded by changing its prey source. It began to hunt smaller prey. It avoided conflict and adapted to hunt in more closed habitats. Over time, its body size reduced as a result. Could African lions and leopards have outcompeted the jaguar? Although interspecies competition is a valid argument when it comes to other cat species that have since become extinct from Africa, such as Homotherium and Dinophalus, it doesn't seem a likely cause when it comes to the jaguar. This is because in North America, during the Pleistocene, jaguars and lions appeared to avoid each other. This prevented interspecies competition. At Rancho La Brea tar pits, which is a gold mine of preserved bones from animals that became trapped there thousands of years ago, there are plentiful finds of American lions, but none of the jaguar. Where jaguar fossils have been found in North America, there have been no fossils of lions in the same area. There is no definitive answer as to why there are no jaguars in Africa. They were once there, but like so many species, over the millennia, they vanished. They are clearly an adaptable species that once dominated the globe and found their home in South, Central, and parts of North America. The globe has changed so much since the Pliocene and Pleistocene. If jaguars were reintroduced into Africa, could they survive? This is an interesting question, and it's possible, but their niche has probably been filled by another one of the 10 cat species currently living there. We often mourn the extinction of iconic beasts, such as woolly mammoths and saber-toothed cats. But it's the species like the jaguar that survived the mass extinctions that we should be celebrating. How did they overcome such adversity when others failed? Why did the American lion perish at the end of the Ice Age, while the jaguar survived? Answering these questions will better equip us for threats to today's incredible flora and fauna. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment with what you would like to see in the following videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.